All right, welcome to the People's Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm Doug By, here as always with Mike Rossi and Joey G Money Janolfi. He's gonna continue to have that "Please fire Matt Canada" behind him, right? Until it
Every
happens.
Monday, if the offense keeps looking like that, it's gonna be here until he's gone. I thought maybe because it was the bye week, it would have came today, but I guess they saw something they liked yesterday.
Did you guys
Maybe.
see his reaction to George Pickens' 41-yard touchdown? The
No,
whole the whole press box with him went crazy, and he was just straight faced like he didn't know what was going on. He just had no reaction at all to probably the play that saved you your job right now.
I was just gonna say that, Joe. The win is what saved him the job right now, for sure.
oh,
As long as
the
they won.
defense. They've won
Yeah.
3 games because of the defense. And if
Yep.
you if you're in that organization and you don't see that, I don't know what to say.
All right. This is our Monday reaction show. We got a lot to talk about. We're going to do some buy low, sell highs. We got the panic meter. We got Joe's beef of the week, and we're going to be talking about the best waiver pickups of the week. But I wanted to start it off by really just kind of recapping the weekend and see who are your champs of the week, guys? Mike, who is your champs of the week?
For me, I mean, I know there was a lot of big players, and you guys are going to talk about some of them, but one of the biggest performances was Zach Moss. He had 165 yards, 2 touchdowns. And more importantly, he made it so JT has some competition in that backfield all year long. He's not going away, even when JT's not limited. So for me, he just proved himself worthy.
Yeah. Joe, who was your biggest champ of the week or champs?
So I mean, Travis Etienne, man, I don't know if it was the food in London or what, but he had a big game against Buffalo yesterday with 136 and 2 touchdowns. And then I'll admit it, I said get rid of him, and I was finished with him. But obviously, Fields and DJ Moore, man, did something big on Thursday night that I definitely did not see them reproducing from the week before. Um, don't know if this is going to be boom or bust with them, or this is the new offense, and this is what they can do.
Yeah, I'd lean towards boomer bust. You weren't alone with that though, Joe. I think a lot of people thought that was kind of
He was all alone. He's the only one that said it. That's Joe.
Joe is on an island.
It's fine.
Yeah, so some of the other guys, I mean, Joe Burrow, I owe him an apology because I said to sit him for the next few weeks. And obviously he came out last week, yesterday, and went off. And Jamar Chase, he had over 50 points in full PPR. He was a monster. He kind of told DJ Moore to hold my beer there.
Yeah, I guess he's just always fucking open, right? Just like he said.
Always.
Guess he was right about that. One of the other ones is George Kittle, right? He had 3 touchdowns last night in that game.
Big. Yeah.
Brock Purdy, same game, 4 touchdowns on only 24 passes. It's efficient.
He's super efficient. And he was, 20 for 21 last week.
Yeah, yeah. Shanahan just put together the perfect offense for Brock Purdy with those weapons, and it just fits so perfectly. That offense it's going to be tough.
I was going to say, I don't even think you had to say for Brock Purdy. I think it might be the perfect offense right now.
Yeah, true. All right. You got me there.
That offense.
It is clicking right now, and it's scary.
Yeah, it is. All right. So there was a lot that happened. It was a fun fantasy weekend. And so let's jump into our buy low, sell high. And Mike, who's your buy low of the week?
We're going buy low first. My buy low is Jaylen Warren. I've been saying it. I think 3 out of 4 of us have been saying it all year long that Jaylen Warren is the better back in Pittsburgh, but it's really starting to show now. And he's getting more and more play time. Last week, Najee was in for 56% of the snaps. Jaylen Warren was in for 48% of the snaps. Najee got the ball 5 more times, but still had 3 less yards than Jaylen Warren. So eventually he's going to take over that role, and people just don't see it yet. So go get him while you can.
Yeah, we're waiting for Matt Canada to see it. That's what we're waiting for, right, Joe?
Well, maybe I think he has to get fired first, and then the other guy would be like, "Dude, why aren't you using him more?"
All right, Joe, who's your buy low?
This is an interesting episode because we have 2 Steelers on buy low. Because mine is Deontay Johnson. I think this is what could keep Matt Canada his job for the rest of the season. Is Deontay Johnson's trying to get back for week 6. It's not a guarantee that he's going to be back next week, but all signs are him trying to get there by the end of the week. And if he is back, he's going to take over the top target job. We've seen in the past couple of weeks that Allen Robinson can't get it done. Calvin Austin can have an explosive play here or there. Pickens has had a couple of good games in his absence, but he's still not reliable play in and play out. They get a lot of his yardages come from that one big deep play that he takes all the way for like a 60-yard touchdown or something. But Johnson is fantasy relevant when he comes back instantly, just because of how many targets and receptions he'll get. And this offense needs to get something going. They're going to target him heavy right away. This is more of a trade for somebody who is, in a good position right now, and somebody weaker's got Deontay Johnson that needs that win. So take advantage of them needing something and getting Deontay Johnson lower than what his value can be.
All right, I like it. I mean, Deontay was one of my guys that I wanted to get in all my teams at the beginning of the year, and then he got hurt week 1. But I think he's still the main guy there. I think he's still the guy that's going to get the targets, like you said.
Oh, yeah.
All right, my buy low is Tony Pollard. Basically, I still believe in the talent. Much of his lack of production thus far, I think, has been game script oriented, where they've either been way ahead and didn't need him, or like last night, they just got smacked around by a great defense for the 49ers. So he's still averaging 4.2 yards a carry, almost 4 catches a game, with 381 yards and 2 touchdowns on the year. It's not what we expected from him, definitely not. But I think there's better days to come with him. And I think the owners of Pollard right now are probably pretty frustrated and will be willing to sell him for less than what you would normally have to get him for. And also that talent on the team, there's still a ton of talent, with CeeDee Lamb and Michael Gallup and Brandon Cooks. It's all riding on Dak Prescott. And does Dak still have it? He looks beat up, man, doesn't he?
That's my thing, man. Like, between is it Dak and the play calling, or are his guys not getting open? Like, did we overrate Cooks and Gallup and Lamb before the season started?
I don't think so, because those guys are established already, except for Gallup. But we kind of know what those guys are. It's got to be a play calling Dak issue. It's got to be.
I don't think Dak is as good as, granted, I'm an Eagles fan, so I'm going to say this no matter what, but some of the passes, like, he looks good sometimes, but then other times you just look at him like, what are you doing? Like that, where he talks about the interception they threw. Yeah, he really does look lost. And he's one of those players that once he gets in his head, it's just all downhill from there. He threw 1 pick, and then all of a sudden he couldn't throw the ball anymore. He threw 2 more after that. And it's just like, dude, you need to find some composure, but he just doesn't have it.
And we were talking about earlier, like, composure like Brock Purdy, the second-year quarterback. Like, that guy,
seriously,
he's loaded with composure, that kid. But I don't know if I don't think you guys really mentioned it, but for buy low, I think you could go get Pollard by maybe using like a Jalen Warren and an Ayuk, or just straight up DJ Moore. Just see if you can do DJ Moore for him, because I still would make that trade, especially if you're running back needy.
You would trade DJ Moore and get Tony Pollard right now?
If I'm running back needy, I would. Yes.
Yeah. I think if you're the DJ Moore owner, although that probably would get you would want Tony Pollard, I think you get more out of that, right?
You might be able to, but I mean, it's still, we're only 5 weeks into the year. Tony Pollard was a borderline first round pick. DJ Moore was like a 5th round pick. People still think about that stuff.
Yeah, they do. That's true. You shouldn't, like, at all.
Shouldn't.
At all.
No,
like,
no,
your draft is out the window once it's over. But
so I agree, you 100% shouldn't. But we know how people are.
Yeah,
people do. And they hold too high a value of where you drafted people.
Yep, absolutely. All right, Mike, who's your sell high?
I mean, this is just too much Steelers talk for one day, but I'm going George Pickens, and I'm not going to spend too much time on it because Joe already touched on the reasons why. Deontay Johnson's coming back. He's the guy here. George Pickens went 6 for 130 and a touchdown. With Kenny Pickett as your quarterback, that's a once in a year type of thing. Just go get anything for him. Not anything, but obviously any value that you get a starter out of Kenny Pickett, go get it now before Deontay just absolutely kills his value.
You have any examples or?
Yeah, I noticed that you want these examples.
Well, I know
and
you
I
like
just
to
I
do that
didn't
to people,
prepare.
so I figured
I
I'd
do,
jump at you.
and I knew you were going to call me out. I didn't prepare examples, but
It's all right.
I would trade right there George Pickens for my buy low. Go get Jalen Warren, like a thing like that. Like a flex player is all I'm looking
Stealer
for.
for a Steeler.
A Steeler for a Steeler is fine. Or if you have a deep roster, just package them with somebody and just go try to upgrade that position in particular.
All right, Joe, who's your sell high?
So my sell high, it could be a little controversial, but my sell high is Brees Hall. I know this was his big breakout game, and I just don't. Is he going to have more than 177 this season? I mean, yes, he could have a couple more touchdowns in a game for more points, but this could be the high point for Brees Hall. He went against a very weak, if not the worst defense in the Denver Broncos that we've seen people light up. And I think that with what we saw of Zach Wilson coming back to reality this weekend after the weekend against the Chiefs, I'm not scared of Zach Wilson, and I don't think Zach Wilson's a decent quarterback anymore. He had one good game against the Chiefs. He looks like he went back to normal and looked lost out there. This defense helped them win that game yesterday, and I think if the defense didn't play as good as they did in the end of this game, Jets probably lose this game because Zach Wilson played terrible again. So if I'm going forward and I'm a defense against the Jets, I'm only worried about stopping this run now, and I'm going to let Zach Wilson go after it again.
Yeah, I think my only pushback on that would be, and he probably won't have a game like he had yesterday again, but I think he's going to be a super consistent player the rest of the way. He looks healthy again, and I think he's just a stud running back in this league. Mike, what do you think?
But that's the whole point of this is if you think this could be his high point, that's when you sell them, when you'll get the most. I'm not saying you should trade, but I'm saying if I'm selling somebody high, this is exactly when I'm selling Brees Hall.
Yeah, that's the point.
Brees Hall for me, it depends what your roster looks like. If you're 4-1, 5-0, and you can afford, if you have like running back depth, this is the time to trade him, I think, because his next 2 weeks, he's got the Eagles next week, and then he's got a bye. So you're not going to get much out of him right now. So if you need value right this second, it's a good time to trade him. But
if you need wins, you're saying, not if you're 4-1, 5-0. Yeah, if you need wins.
Sorry. If you need wins, this is the time to trade him.
Yeah.
But if you have the luxury of holding out, when he comes back from the bye, his schedule up until championship week is unbelievable. I won't go through them all, but I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of his 9 games are all green matchups.
Okay.
So if you have the luxury of just holding them for a little bit, I would hold them.
Yeah, I agree with both ways of it, though. You're right. If you need a win right now, if you're win needy, then go see what you can get from him. A couple good starters just to get you a win or two in the next couple weeks.
Mm-hmm.
All right. My sell high, he's probably a little controversial as well, but it's Devon Achane. And did I say that right?
You did.
Nice.
I just don't agree with it.
Okay. So it's similar to Brees Hall, though, right? I mean, he's been a monster the last few games. He's only had 38 carries, though, so far in the season. But he's averaged 12.1 yards, and he's had 5 touchdowns. So, unless he's superhuman, this is not going to hold up. It just,
12 yards a carry. That's insane.
12 yards a carry.
That's insane.
But he's been doing it for now 3 weeks, and after week 3, everyone was like, is he really worth that much fab? He's not going to do that every week, right? Then after week 4, it's like, he did it 2 weeks, so what? Big deal. This is 3 weeks in a row that he's done this, 3 weeks in a row he's done this. So I don't know. He's got some backbone. Obviously, he's not going to finish the year at 12 yards a carry, but he's just explosive, and on this offense, he can break one at any moment, and that's all you need is one.
He can, absolutely. But Mostert's still involved. He has 30 carries in the last 3 games, and he's still being efficient himself at 5.4 yards a carry. Now, it's not, that ridiculous number, the 12 yards a carry, but he's still being efficient himself. So he's still going to get the work. I still think that this is a team that really wants to throw the ball first with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. So with a guy who's only getting about 10 carries a game, he's going to have some down games. And I think this is the highest point to sell him right now. And I think you can get some serious value, like, because people are overvaluing this guy right now, in my opinion. I think you could go get like a Pollard and a Puka for him, or like a Henry and a Christian Kirk for him. Like, go get, and I know you don't love Derrick Henry right now, Mike, but I would rather have two solid starters that I can really rely on than have a guy who I think is going to be more of a boom bust the rest of the way.
Yeah, so I think this is like my Brees Hall thought process, Doug. Same spot. This is this is the where you're gonna get the absolute most for Achane. Like, yes, could he still have good games, but had better games? Like it was like 200 and what he had a 50-point game. You know what I mean? You're not gonna get a better game out of that, probably.
No, you're not. You are nuts. All right, let's jump to our panic meter.
Panic meter.
So I want to start with Jonathan Taylor. He just came back yesterday, right? But did he really? I don't know. I didn't see him play too much out there yesterday. He
was on the field.
He was on the field. He only had 6
28
attempts for 18 yards. And that was about all he did. He had a reception too. But so how panicked are you guys on Jonathan Taylor right now?
I had a number and then it automatically switched to a 0 for some reason.
Doing this again?
Doing some magic over here.
All right. So I'm at a 4. Joe's at a 3. Mike's at a 6. So Mike, you're decently panicked about him. Why don't you talk about your 6?
Yeah, I think I kind of talked about it with my champ. I'm not extremely worried about Jonathan Taylor coming back and looking good. But first of all, they're working him in slowly. Like you have another couple weeks before he's probably not on a snap count. And even when he's back full time, if Zach Moss is still there, unless they plan on trading Zach Moss or if he gets hurt or something, he's going to take some of that role away. And when you have Jonathan Taylor and Zach Moss taking some of the carries and Anthony Richardson, when he comes back, taking some of the carries in the goal line, I don't know, for where I think you're better off trading him. I might have made him I should have made him my trade sell high last week. But I would not be happy with Jonathan Taylor right now. I'd be a little nervous. So,
well, full disclosure, you did just trade him in my league, right?
I did. That's why I said I should have made him my sell high.
So you're a little biased with it, but yeah. Go ahead, Joe.
I think if you knew anything coming into the season, right, there was a lot of mystery around the Jonathan Taylor situation. So, I mean, if you took Jonathan Taylor that early, shame on you is what I'm going to say. I feel like it's going to take a couple games for him to get back and be fully into rhythm. And if you took him expecting to get him, normal Jonathan Taylor as soon as he came in, that wasn't going to happen. We saw it with, why can't I think of the other guy? Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs has had a slow start to the season because he wasn't in training camp. But I still think he's going to be fine. He's been getting more receptions. I think it's the same type of situation. So, yeah, Zach Moss had a good game. 2 years ago, this offensive line was one of the best in the league. They had a down year last year. Maybe they're back on the same page and healthy. So I'm not nervous. I'm not saying Zach Moss is a starting running back in the league. I think he's had a couple good games, and we'll see what happens.
All right. Fair enough. Let's jump to the next guy. It's James Cook, running back for the Bills. Yesterday, he had 5 attempts for a -4 yards and 3 catches. Where are you guys at on James Cook right now? So Mike's at a 5. I'm at an 8. And Joe's at a 7. So, yeah, Joe, talk about your 7 then.
So I was trying to – this is much quicker than when we have 4 people. So I was trying to look up his numbers real quick to see like what his high point in fantasy has been so far.
September 17th, he had 123 yards rushing.
Okay, so he had a solid game there. But I feel like I haven't seen what I thought I would see out of James Cook. I thought I'd see more catching, more receiving yards, just more. Towards the end of the season last year, James Cook looked pretty explosive. And I'm not seeing that. I'm not seeing anything too good out of this running game. Even when they have, leads, he's not running the ball at the end of the game, ripping off big plays and getting yardages when the other defense is tired. I haven't seen a lot from James Cook to not be panicked. Um, and I think this team is going to be in a lot of shootouts going forward, because as we saw them against Jacksonville yesterday, the defense doesn't look great right now with Tre'Davious White going out, and I think it impacted it, a lot, obviously.
Yeah, we were talking to Andy about it earlier, and it's well documented. He's a hardcore Bills fan. And he doesn't think he's a good running back. He thinks he straight up said that, right? He's not good at running the ball.
He said he's never seen a running back not want to get hit as bad as James Cook. He just always goes straight down.
Yeah, that's not a that's not a great thing for a running back.
No.
I think he's more of a third down back personally, and they kind of they thought they could put him into that workhorse role, and it's just not working. And they should kind of lean more on Damian Harris and Latavius Murray, at least for the first and second down.
I kind of disagree with all of this James Cook slander. He had one bad week. It was a week that he went to London.
Well, he had 29
slack.
He had 29 yards the previous week.
And he had a 48-yard catch that same week. Before that, he had 18, 12, 14 points. So he was picking it up. He had one bad week in London. I mean, granted, I said I was a 5, so I'm a little panicked, but that's because Andy scared me. What Andy said today got in my head, and I'm a little scared because I just traded for James Cook. So stop it, Andy.
Well, that kind of happens too, though. Like, if you're a big fan, like you do, like I rely on your Eagles takes more. I rely on Joe's Steelers takes more because you guys are watching it more thoroughly than I would be, Yeah. So he's seeing these things.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Next guy I want to talk about, CeeDee Lamb. We kind of touched on the Cowboys offense a little bit earlier when I was talking about Pollard, but last night against the Niners, he had 4 catches for 49 yards. Week prior in New England, he only had 4 catches for 36 yards. And week prior to that, he only had 4 catches for 53. Where are you guys at on him right now? I'm at a 2. Joe's at a 6, and Mike did his decimal bullshit. He's a 3.141592. Okay. Mike, go ahead and talk.
I'm just not worried yet. Like, next week they're playing the Chargers, and I'm giving CD one more week where, all right, this is an easy matchup. Go prove yourself. Dak, throw him the ball as much as you can, because he's the only one that's reliable on that offense. So I'm giving him one more chance, and if he doesn't do against the Chargers next week, then if he was on the panic meter next week, I'll be way higher.
You agree with that, Joe?
So the only reason he is a 6 and not higher for me is because of the matchups he has coming up. He's had decent games. He's only had 2 decent games is what I meant to say. Other than that, he's been under double digits. But his matchups coming up, like Mike said, he's playing the Chargers this next week, and then he's still got Philly twice. Washington's pass defense hasn't been good, and then they play Seattle in between there too. So they're good matchups, but how much you guys just talked about how bad the scheme in Dak has been earlier. Like, I mean, that's controlling this offense. That will control his numbers. If Dak can't get him the football, he's not going to produce. So there's no way I can be under 5, and I'm staying close to a 5 right now just because of the matchups coming up. Let's see if Dak is that bad or if he takes advantage against bad secondaries.
Yeah, I guess we'll just have to find out. It's a wait and see game with Dak. All right, let's go to the next guy. Joe, you talked about him a little bit on the Thursday show. It's Miles Sanders. This past weekend, he had 7 attempts for 32 yards. Week prior to that was 13 attempts for 19 yards. Where's everyone at on him right now? Because
should I pull up Mike Kyle Pitts, or should I pull if I'm the actual owner of the person? Because this is the owner one. The owner one is a 10.
Yeah.
The how I feel is a 1.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay.
No,
I'm a 6. Mike's an upside down 8, and and Joe's a 10. Joe, talk about your 10 though. If
He
you're the
stinks.
Miles
I
Sanders,
mean, again, I don't think Miles Sanders is good. I think he benefited strictly from being on the Eagles offense. I just he hasn't shown anything. This is, if you remember the debate, the defense against him still having a good season when I brought him up is going to be one of the disappointments this year, was that this offense ran the ball well with no quarterbacks last year and 2 running backs that don't have starting jobs right now. So what's changed? Because if anything, he was supposed to be better than what they had, and his numbers are worse than what those guys were doing last year. So I don't understand how you can't be at the highest panic point, because a lot of people were probably taking him in a range where they were getting like their second running back, and he's not a flex play right now, I don't think.
No. And Joe, you said the 2 non-starters that were playing better than him in the same offense last year. The reason why I'm an 8 is because one of them might be a starter pretty soon, which is Miles Sanders' backup, Chuba Hubbard. He looks good. Like, I'm not sure if it's you're right and Miles Sanders just isn't good, or if it actually is his groin injury. But either way, Chuba is the better back when they're both when the Panthers are playing.
Yeah, that's what I was going to mention is the groin injury. We gave him that excuse on Thursday. It still probably is bothering him. It might just be a lingering thing, but you should panic about that too then, because if he's just not going to get healthy, then there's a problem.
Yeah, that's all part of it. If he's not on the field for snaps and production because he keeps playing hurt and not 100%, it's not worth it.
100%. All right, next guy, Lamar Jackson. Joe, you saw him up in person yesterday.
Oh boy, did I enjoy it!
He had 236 yards with no touchdowns. He only has four passing touchdowns on the year so far, in the 5 games. So I'm a 3 though. Where are you guys at? Mike's a 1, Joe's a 5. All right, Mike, talk about your 1.
It was a divisional game. Whenever the Steelers and Ravens play, this is what happens. I don't know what the Steelers always play these types of games, right? This is just what happens in that division. His receivers were dropping passes. He hit Bateman in the end zone for a touchdown right in his hands, dropped it.
Mark Andrews dropped one too, huh?
Yeah, Mark Andrews dropped one, and then he threw a disgusting ball to OBJ. It was straight to the defender. That was so gross. But I think he's going to realize what just happened. Be like, all right, my receivers suck. If Mark Andrews isn't open, I'm just going to run the ball. And that's better for fantasy. So I'm not worried, because he's going to start reverting back to Lamar Jackson that we know, that doesn't trust his receiver core, and just start running the ball for points.
Yeah, that's why I think that's kind of just who he has been for his career, except for that, 2019 MVP season. He's going to be a boomer bust guy. That's just that's what he is. And he probably will just start running the ball more. They shouldn't be throwing it as much as they are with him.
No, and I think you have a good point of the running, obviously, because even when they're close to the goal line, they look like they still want to run him. I watched a good amount of that game yesterday, and there were a lot of, like you call them, Lamar targets, and they just look bad. And I don't know, but the running, that's why I'm not too high. I'm in that middle of the range, because if the passing can't get going, you would think guys' defenses are going to play them a little different, but we'll see.
All right, boys, that was Panic Meter. Oh, throwing my mic around. That was Panic Meter. Good job. Let's jump into Joe's beef of the week. Joe, you got one for us this week?
Yeah, Doug, we took another tough loss yesterday with the bets and stuff, and I'm going to a game. Some of it was fantasy related, but the Eagles-Rams game yesterday. Yeah, I know. I thought that would be a little shocking to you, Mike.
Caught my attention. Go on.
There's reasoning behind it. So, time of possession in this game was completely controlled by your fucking Eagles, okay? And when you're somebody who's got Matt Stafford over 250 passing and the over in this game, You don't want to see slow offenses. And for some reason, with I think it was 8 minutes left in the third quarter, the Eagles did not take a snap with more than 4 seconds left on the play clock. The rest of the fucking game. It's the third quarter, and it's a one possession game, and they were running the fucking clock down. I've never seen it so early in a fucking game in my life. So you still had guys like Cooper Kupp and Puka still play well. Kupp had 118 in his first game back. Puka had 7 for 71 in a touchdown. But if you're somebody who had Stafford had 150 yards, if not just over that, or right around there in the first half. Yeah. He only ended up with 222, and that's because he had a couple plays on the last two drives trying to push it downfield. But before that, he was sitting at he was sitting at like 175 for a good portion of that second half, because me and McShane were flipping out watching the game because we did a 4 o'clock thing that was the same to try to root for something together. And I've never been so frustrated watching an offense like the Eagles do what they were doing, taking the clock down that early in the game. But also, too, the Rams defense missed so many fucking tackles. They had so many chances to get the Eagles off the field on third downs and just couldn't fucking tackle. How do you not tackle? This is what you do as a defender. It's your living. But it was disgusting. Nick Sirianni, I can't stand for sitting on your eggs nesting in that second half. And, yeah, fuck the Eagles.
That was by far my favorite Joe's beef of the week. Oh man, that was great, Joe. Thank you so much.
Well done.
Also, just to give a little,
thought you'd like it.
Yeah. So the Eagles can't cover slot receivers right now. Vontae Maddox went out for the year, and they just kept putting. I mean, obviously Cooper and Puka playing the slot. Whoever was in the slot was getting the ball. I think the Eagles realized, like, hey, we don't have the personnel to cover this. And they're like, what's our best chance to win? Just run the fucking clock out. We have the O-line. It's working. The Rams can't tackle. So Nick Sirianni, great game plan.
No, that could, you're 100% right with all of that. Whichever one of them was in the slot pretty much got the ball. And that's a very good possibility. I didn't even think about that angle.
On that first drive of the game, there was like 4 slants to Cooper Kupp, the same play.
Yeah.
They just don't have a guy that can cover that. They just don't have it. So,
yeah, I can't believe he didn't go over 250, because especially after that first drive, like, oh, that's done, easy.
We were watching that game and we were like, all right, this 250, we literally were like,
don't have to worry about that.
Be easy. It looked like our best thing going. Those were the only 2 things we missed and completely effed us.
I think he had 175 yards in the first half too, or something like that. So,
it's gross. So gross.
All right,
football.
That's Joe's beef of the week. That's good, Joe. All right, let's talk about the waiver pickups of the week, and we'll start with the running backs. Are there any running backs that you guys are really targeting right now? I have some names listed here, but if you guys have any that you really want right now this week, Mike?
Well, I mean, again, it's all situational. If you are in dire need of a running back this week, then there's a few names that you have to take a chance on. I don't even know if I know how to pronounce his name yet. Amari DiMercado, is that how you say it?
That's how I would say it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, but the thing is, like, I'm not spending too much on somebody like that because we don't know if Connor's going to play. We don't know if Ingram is going to play. And even if he does play, who's going to be the starter? So it's a long shot. It's a risk, obviously. But if you need a running back, that's top name right there, because
he's only
the workload.
Yeah, he's only 1% owned. Say we find out James Conner's not playing tomorrow, or sounds like he's going to be doubtful. How much would you spend on him?
If I'm running back needy, that's the only way I'd even sign him. Because as soon as Connor comes back, then it's his job. So this is a 1 week, 2 week max rental.
Yeah.
If I'm running back needy, I'd go up to 20.
Okay. Yeah, I don't hate that.
Yeah, no. I mean, I think he showed yesterday he's got some ability. Had some breakout plays, and I think, again, if you're needy, I think he's probably the best risk and option out there. The only other one I might consider is for his touchdown value, and because what we have seen out of James Cook a little bit, if you need a flyer or something, I think Latavius Murray is going to get some more carries coming soon. And especially with their matchup next week against the Giants, there could be a lot of goal line opportunities in Buffalo next week.
I like that.
Oh, Doug froze.
Did I freeze for a second?
Yeah, you froze, but you could hear us.
I could hear you guys. You guys were there. You guys
All right,
were there
good,
the whole time.
good.
All right, let's talk about a few other names. Roshan Johnson, he's still only 41% owned with Khalil Herbert going down. How much would you guys spend on him? Just throw out numbers.
If he again, we don't know if he's going to play,
Yeah.
but hand in hand, if he plays or if he doesn't play, then the other name to bring up is Deontay Foreman.
He was
but
going to be
one
the
of them.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Roshan, if we know he's going to play, then I would make him top priority. I go like 25 on Roshan.
Yeah, same. And I don't think he's available in any of the leagues we play in. I don't believe.
No.
Most
But
not.
Deontay Foreman is in a lot of them. And I think he's another one. I think he could be the first and second down back there, even with Roshan. And Roshan's coming off a concussion too, so he might not be 100%. All right. Tajee Spears, he's still only 26% owned. And yeah, he's Rossi's guy. And yesterday he had
he's glowing about him.
Yesterday he had a 19-yard touchdown.
Good.
How much you spent on him? You think he's a flex option on a weekly basis?
Not yet. No,
Okay.
I wouldn't unless there's bye week injuries. But I don't think I'm starting him over your normal flexes that you're starting on a week to week basis. But again, I don't think he's not in the top of the ads list when you go to go to Yahoo and you hit who's being added the most. He's not up there yet. So people, because there's not an injury there, they're not buying him. But I'm at this point going 10 to 15 on Tajay just to get him on my roster.
Yeah, he's one of the best.
See,
Go ahead.
I'm surprised you're not calling him a flex play yet, especially for how high you are on him, because his targets right now, he's getting 4 to 5 targets a game out of the backfield. And what we saw yesterday, he could take one to the house at any point. He's got a lot of ability. I don't know if I hadn't seen him early in the year or if it was just because of the plays he made yesterday caught my eye. But I think with bye weeks happening right now and injuries starting to pile up, I think he's definitely a flex play on most teams.
Yeah, he could be a flex. I'm not saying don't flex him, but I'm not forcing him into my lineup as a must flex type of opportunity. But yeah, he's definitely he's not at Jaylen Warren status yet, but he's getting there.
I was just going to say, he's kind of like a Jaylen Warren light. This whole situation going on here, it kind of seems like that's what it is. But I still think, King Henry is much better than Najee still. Sorry, Joe.
Right. I mean, obviously.
A couple other guys. Justice Hill, he's 28% owned right now. How much you spending on him?
I mean, if Justice Hill is out there, I'd spend in that 15 to 20 range for Justice Hill. I mean, this offense, you don't know what's going to happen. It's very interesting with the scheming that they have had happen so far. But I think somebody's got to get the carries there. Somebody's got to be standout. Did he have? I can't remember
touchdown
what
yesterday.
he had yesterday. Yeah, he did have a touchdown.
Yeah,
I'm glad you knew what my question was. I couldn't remember if it was him that scored.
Yeah.
But I think he's got some value there because I think he is going to be that goal line guy for them.
He's the more explosive of all of the guys, probably.
Yeah. And like Rossi said, Gus Edwards could go down at any time. That's always a possibility.
Always is.
I'm surprised he hasn't yet.
Yeah. He had he didn't he get a concussion a couple weeks ago?
Oh, he did. That's right. Yeah. You're right.
All right. The last running back I want to talk about is Chuba Hubbard. We talked about him a little bit earlier, but he's still only 26%, they're saying. So that's another guy I think you got to go after. And all these guys are pretty similar. There's probably not a league winner out of all this bunch, but I think you can, throw these guys in for a flex for a few weeks, especially on the bye weeks that are now here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the Chuba and the Tajay, those are like long-term plays. Like I'm not getting them. If I'm running back needy and like, oh, I need to win this week, that's not my options. I would go DeMarcado if Connor's out, Roshan, or somebody that's gonna get more carries. But if you're long term and you're just looking to stash somebody that can help you down the line, Tajay and a Chuba Hubbard, if they take that role, those are where I'm going. But you don't have to spend much on those guys,
especially the King Henry and the Miles Sanders owners. They should absolutely go for these guys and should have them on their team.
Yep.
All right, let's go to the wide receivers. Quentin Johnson's 33% owned. He just came off a bye week, which is probably why nobody went for him too hard this past week. And he hasn't really done much since Mike Williams went down. How much you spending on him, Joe?
So for me, I still like Palmer better. I think Palmer is going to get more of the touchdown targets. I think because he had that season last year with Herbert, he's got more trust in Herbert. Herbert will have his timing down better. So for me, I'm not spending a lot. I probably wouldn't spend more than 10 to 12 on Quentin Johnson. I'd spend more on Palmer.
Okay. I think Palmer, he's definitely over 50% owned because I didn't see him on this last list. A couple other guys, Wan'Dale Robinson, he got banged up yesterday, but came back into the game, right? He's only owned in 24%, and he's getting a lot of targets there. With Daniel Jones gone, who's the backup there? Tyrod Taylor, is that?
Yeah, Tyrod Taylor, who actually I think he came in and had like an 80% completion percentage or something in the 10 throws that he made.
He always has a high completion percentage. He doesn't throw
but
the
that's
ball
exactly what Wan'Dale is. That's all I'm saying is Wan'Dale is that dude. So in a PPR league, it's not a bad play.
Yep. Yeah. All right. Another guy, a couple other ones. Curtis Samuel, 17% owned. I think he's getting good. Yeah, I think he's getting more targets than Dotson, right?
Yeah.
He is.
Sam Howell looks good
definitely.
too. And then the last guy I want to talk about, and we don't know about JJ's status, but if Justin Jefferson is hurt for an extended period of time, KJ Osborne, he's the guy, right?
Yeah. KJ.
Yeah,
I like KJ.
I think, Jefferson, it's a hamstring. So, he's a superstar. You're not going to force him out there, right? In this situation. So I could see him missing 1 or 2 weeks, even if he's fine, just to be safe. So KJ might be a nice fill-in option. I
don't know who they playing this week. I think the only issue is they're 1-4 right now.
I was just going
to
say
they need to
they
win.
Have to win. Yeah, I understand it's Jefferson, but you can't fold on the season this early. If he can play, you got to play him.
They're playing the Bears.
Okay. But maybe the Bears found something this past week. I don't know.
Maybe.
You're talking one game. They're playing the Bears this week. I could see Jefferson not playing this week. So I could see, you could get a flyer on KJ for a week. I have him in one of our leagues, as you guys know, and I play him. But he has touchdown value because of his size. He's got 2 on the season. But after this, they got to play JJ. San Fran's the week after. And then if you lose this week, you're 1-5. You got to get wins.
I think they're going to be at least probably 2-5 after that San Fran game, right?
Oh, yeah.
And I wonder if Kirk Cousins is going to be a guy they might want to trade away.
There's been a lot of talk about that.
Yeah, that could be interesting. I was looking at his stats earlier because I was actually thinking about
you want Kirk Cousins, Doug?
No, he's so underrated, man. He's had a really good year.
You want him in New England?
Oh, I wouldn't mind him in New England. No, definitely not. Wouldn't mind him. He's had a great year. He's 35 years old. But I was thinking in my head a comparison of like him and Drew Bledsoe. I was thinking he was that type of guy where it puts up numbers but never like wins playoff games or never wins the big ones. He has better numbers than Bledsoe had, and Bledsoe had some pretty good numbers. So
yeah. They still passing is still more.
Yes, I agree with that.
It's more prominent now than it was even when Bledsoe's time.
Yeah, because he was done.
Bledsoe threw. You should look at the numbers, see how far downfield in the air time on the ball though, because Bledsoe used to fucking.
Oh, he had a cannon, didn't he? He had a cannon.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
When they used to do those quarterback long yard competitions, Bledsoe would be throwing like 75 yards or something like that. It was ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah. Now he's making wine. All right, let's talk tight ends. Unless you got any other wide receivers, Mike.
No, I got nothing. That's it.
All right, tight ends. Logan Thomas. I kind of wish I made that trade with you, Joe, because Logan Thomas looks good.
Logan Thomas went off, man. He's one of the reasons I beat McShane this week. Um, like I said, I think I talked about it. I think we touched on him last
We did
week.
a little bit.
As
Yeah.
long as he stays healthy, man, he's still got the ability and he's got the size. I mean, if you need a tight end, you definitely should be picking him up. How much to spend depends upon the need, and you got to look around and see what other guys need. But don't be shy on it, because Sam Howell obviously showed he likes going to him and trust him. And I mean, he outplayed those other guys that everybody drafted higher, like Terry McLaurin and Dotson. So I say you got to go for it.
Yeah, and he's in a position where it's just there's so little production, right? It's either you're great or it's a shit stream, and you have a tight end that's getting targets, and he put up 16 points last week. That's more than just, oh great, he fell into the end zone, or great they passed it to him at the 1 yard line and he didn't ruin my week. Like, even if he didn't have a touchdown, he's still getting the targets, he's still catching balls, and they're looking at him. So that's an every week starter at that position.
Yeah, it's not a K. Dotton kind of thing where he's just falling into the end zone now and then. He's legit. I think he's a talent. And that's an up and coming quarterback. I like Sam Howell. I like what I'm seeing out of him.
Mm-hmm.
That guy, he can sling it, man.
Yeah, he can chuck it around. Yeah. All right. Another one is Luke Musgrave. He's 24% owned. He had a down week last week. He's playing right now. Do you have much interest in him right now, Mike?
No, I mean, I don't mind stashing him, Joe. I'm sorry if you like him, but again, this offense is just getting Christian Watson back, and I think he's the fourth option on that team. And Jordan Love doesn't throw the ball, 350 yards. He's usually around like 250. So I don't know. I think he's a hit or miss, and you might get a few big weeks out of him, but you're going to also get 2-3 point games, and that's not what I want on my tight end.
See, Christian Watson just coming back and getting into this offense is going to do like what I talk about with some of these guys. It's going to make safeties go further back once they start connecting on those deep balls. And that's going to open it up for Musgrave. He's already been getting a decent amount of carries. They do like scheming plays around him. Tonight he already caught a screen pass, so they are wanting to get him the ball. I like Musgrave. I'm big on a lot of these rookie tight ends. I know we haven't seen Michael Mayer get any time in Vegas really yet, but as we've seen from Laporta and Musgraves being the starter, I think these guys have a lot of potential once we get further into the season.
I love how you always call them Musgraves. You always put an S.
It's just the way, like that type.
I do too. I think I do
name.
too.
I just did.
Oh, maybe it was Doug that did it before.
I think it was me.
Doug did it last week, and you kept yelling.
It's contagious.
And two, I just want to just a little side note. I retract everything I just said. If Musgrave goes off right now, then yeah, go get him. All right.
He's only got one catch for 6 yards, Mike. Relax. It's just a small screen pass.
No, I'm just saying. I just want people to know that I'm doing this before I saw this game. So if he goes off, then yeah, go get him.
Then you change your mind. All right, Tyler Conklin, last tight end I want to talk about. I think he had 60-something yards. He had the most yards for any Jets receiver yesterday. So, much interest in him at all? Or is he one of those tight ends that is like hit or miss?
So the last 2 weeks, he's gotten a lot of targets from Zach Wilson. He was in our 4 p.m. parlay of getting over either 2.5 or 3.5 catches. I loved it, and I sold McShane on it because Zach's been targeting him. And at the end of the game, you saw him make that big catch to get the first down and get it was like a 25-yard catch. So he's got the ability to break some tackles. I think they may try to go to him towards the end zone more if they can get down there. The only nerve-wracking thing is, yes, it's Zach Wilson at quarterback. So I don't know how much it will be, but I think he's worth if you got the bench space, or I don't know who their matchup is this week, but I think he's worth a couple bucks, like in that $5 range, and have that player if you got to put him in.
Are they the Eagles this week?
Oh yeah, I was I know this. Yeah, it's the Eagles. I was like, I can't think of this.
I would have thought the Eagles fan would have jumped on that.
Yeah. I don't know. I
So
just
that could
wasn't
be
really
that
paying
could be an okay
attention, and then it
matchup
caught me
then.
off guard.
That could be a good matchup
Yeah.
then, right? We were just talking about the slot.
Yeah, but we thought that about Tyler Higbee though, and he
Okay.
got 4 points. So
All right. Let's talk
Not
quarterbacks.
all of us thought.
We don't have Andy doing the QB stream of the week, so let's talk what quarterbacks we like for waiver pickups this week. I already mentioned him once, Sam Howell. I like him a lot. How much would you spend on him, Rossi? He's a quarterback, so how much are you going to spend on him?
I think out of any, he's the only one that I actually like.
You
And
probably would spend money on, right?
yeah, and if you were somebody that went and you were, you drafted Daniel Jones or or whatever, and you've been struggling to find a quarterback, or Anthony Richardson was your starter, I think Sam Howell's more than just a stream at this point. He can be a week to week starter. All right, Joe. I know. I'm talking about your dude. But so I would spend a little bit more on him because it's not just a stream. So I would go like 10 bucks
Sorry,
on
Joe.
Sam.
I was supposed to kick that to you. Joe, talk about him.
It's all good, man. Listen, people probably don't know the backstory, but we have a 16-team man auction league. I went heavy at running backs, and early in the draft, I nominated Sam Howell, knowing that nobody would go for him. And I was okay in a 16-team league if I got stuck with him at the beginning of the year, because I thought as the season went on, he could be a starting quarterback for fantasy football. And I knew I wasn't going to get a good name anytime in that middle of the draft. And it's exactly what I thought was going to happen. It is happening. And it's what's keeping my team alive, because I have no wide receivers in that league whatsoever. It's running backs and Sam Howell playing decent at quarterback. And I stacked him with Logan Thomas. I drafted Logan Thomas in that league late in the draft. And that was my stack I took a chance on. And I'm hoping this past week is a sign of the things to come.
Yeah, not a bad play, Joe. Not a bad play. Because you spent all your money early.
It was
right?
deep in here.
Yeah, we didn't talk about
that
that
was
part.
the one I went stupid on the third running back. I read my number wrong. What are you gonna do?
That's okay. Yeah, so that's probably about it for quarterbacks, right? Derek Carr was another one on there. I don't know how he's looking tonight, but
he's not playing tonight, Doug.
Oh, what am I? Yeah, what Raiders.
Raiders.
On the
it was the
Raiders. There you go.
Raiders.
Another one real quick. I think Bryce Young might be serviceable this week. They're playing the Dolphins. Yeah. They're playing the Dolphins. The Dolphins are going to be up big. They're going to need him, right? So I don't know. I think he could come out. He just threw for 340 and 3 touchdowns or 2 touchdowns this past week. So I don't know. I think he could do something.
I don't hate it against the Dolphins. They're going to need a score. I like it.
I mean, it's got to be a bad.
It's bye week. It's bye week replacement, but also it's definitely super flex, which is another format that's getting bigger and bigger. So I agree. All right, boys. I think that just about does it. Mike, unless you have anything else that you want to talk about.
No. I this is the least prepared I've been. So stop calling me out on things that I want to talk about. I have nothing.
But that's what you do. You're the most prepped, Mike. Come on.
Yeah, I know. But this week I had nothing. It was a holiday weekend. I spent the time camping, and it's just I tried doing as much research as I could, but I went golfing with Doug instead because that was more important apparently. So
yeah. Well, we need a little time, All right. All right, boys. For Mike and Joe, I'm Doug. We'll see you guys next time. Later.
See you, fellas.
Later, guys.